After months of negotiations, President Trump puts the newly passed stimulus bill in doubt.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill.
But waiting a little longer for help could mean you'll get more.
Increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000.
And lawmakers have to move fast if they don't want to start from scratch in the new year.
Plus, President-elect Biden puts Congress on alert.
But Congress did its job this week. And I can and I must ask them to do it again next year.
We're taking a look at his relief package wish list.
And it's one of the busiest holiday travel days of the year, but it won't look anything like what we're used to. We're live at DIA for the COVID edition of the Holiday Rush. Crowds might not cause delays this year, but the weather might for your travels. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on Denver7 News. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Molly Hendrickson. Glad to have you here with us. We are in a Denver7 weather action day for snow in the high country. Katie Lasalle is here. For most of us in the metro, the big story today will be colder temperatures, Katie.
Yes, highs will be about 30 degrees below what we saw yesterday, well below average for this time of the year. It's a very powerful cold front moving into Colorado. The winds are just howling over the eastern plains and out to the airport. Last recorded wind gusts at 40 miles per hour, sustained winds from the north at 23 miles per hour make it feel like it is only 7 degrees out there. So a cold, blustery afternoon is in store. We'll continue to pick up some snow showers into the high country, but blowing snow will make for limited visibility at times. Temperatures today only are in the upper 20s to low 30s from Littleton into downtown Denver. Aurora will continue to be breezy, and you can see from our wind forecast, winds will kick up over the eastern plains. We're under a high wind warning for the majority of eastern Colorado, including Burlington down through Lamar for this afternoon and evening. Into the mountains, it's going to be calmer later on tonight and some pretty nice weather in store for our Christmas holiday. Your full forecast still to come.
And we do have a improving drive, I should say, on I-270. We had some road work that lasted till about 10 minutes or so ago on that eastbound side, right by the refineries. In the backups, there's a report of a real minor crash right after I-25. I haven't pinpointed that yet, but I did see some flashing lights from the camera over there. You can actually see some of the headlights going from the top of the screen to the left. That is the traffic on 270 passing under I-76 and trying to get past the refineries, and still looking, as you see on the travel time, about 15 minutes overall on that drive, and so it is about 3 times longer than what it should be on the westbound side. The drive out to the west is still a bit of a snowy mess for us. Still looking at over an hour, between an hour and a half between Golden and Silverthorne. If you wanted to use 285, you can use that as well. But we have some chain and traction laws up that way, including over Kenosha Pass. As you take a look there at I-70 at Loveland Pass, Loveland Pass is closed down right now because of those adverse driving conditions.
Well, with high winds picking up today, it could cause trouble for what's expected to be one of DIA's busiest days during this holiday season. Denver7's Micah Smith joins us from the airport this morning. And Micah, it likely won't be as packed as it typically is days before Christmas.
Molly, it won't. We've been here for a few hours now, and I can tell you that the security line isn't nearly as long as it usually is. Now, there is still quite a line. It's moving. It's gone down a little bit since I checked in with you at the 5 a.m. hour. But overall, traffic is down, and this comes as no surprise to DIA because they predict travel will be cut in half during this typically busy travel time. 39,000 travelers are expected to go through DIA's TSA checkpoints each day over the next week or so, which still sounds like a lot of people, but when you compare it to last year, when the airport saw about 77,000 passengers each day, it shows just how much air travel is down. For some frontline workers, this is great news. This is an indication that more people are staying at home this holiday season and in turn helping stop the spread of coronavirus. This week, Dr. Anthony Fauci once again warned people about unnecessary travel and also discussed ways to gather with your loved ones safely.
Whenever I talk about being careful, someone will say, well, he wants to cancel Christmas. I don't want to do that. I want people to be more careful. I want them to limit traveling to the extent possible. And when you congregate, try to do it with a limited number of people, preferably people in the same household or a few close people who you know are also being very careful.
Fauci also had a pretty scary warning and said we could experience a superimposed surge on top of the current surge if Americans don't avoid large indoor gatherings and stop traveling unless it's absolutely necessary. And I'm going to add to that advice. If you do have to come to the airport, make sure you're observing social distancing. There are markers on the floor, but a lot of people are not following those markers, and make sure you're wearing that mask properly. Reporting live, Micah Smith, Denver7.
Yeah, that's tough to do sometimes at DIA. Thank you, Micah. Most Coloradans are skipping holiday travel altogether. AAA Colorado predicts about 3/4 of the state will simply stay put. That's the first drop in travel rates since 2008 and the lowest travel volume in Colorado since 2002. Still, AAA predicts more than 1 million people will travel despite the pandemic.
Breaking news, the U.S. government just secured access to another 100 million doses of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine. That brings the total to 200 million. CNBC reports the additional doses will be delivered by the end of July.
Now to that shocking announcement by the president on Twitter overnight, putting the COVID relief package in limbo. President Trump is asking Congress to rework the pandemic aid bill passed Monday and increase the direct stimulus payments to you. ABC's Faith Abubey is in Washington as Democrats quickly jump on board.
In a surprise 4-minute Twitter video, President Trump demanding Congress amend a 2-in-1 COVID relief and government spending bill heading to his desk. The legislation crafted by Senate Republicans and Trump's own top negotiators.
I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill.
Trump was expected to sign the measure this week to avoid a government shutdown and give a much-needed lifeline to millions of Americans expected to lose part of their federal unemployment benefits the day after Christmas. But the president now saying he wants more money in direct stimulus payments included in the bill.
Amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple.
The demand quickly embraced by many Democrats who for months had sought to give more direct aid to struggling Americans. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tweeting, "Let's do it." And Adam Schiff telling CNN this.
I have to think that the Republicans are not going to go anywhere near this, but we're willing to try.
Republicans have indicated the price tag of the $900 billion COVID relief package is already too high. The bill includes $300 in weekly federal unemployment benefits and up to $600 in direct payments to most Americans. But the long overdue aid now hanging in the balance, while millions slide into a pandemic-fueled poverty.
Time to stop playing that freaking game with our lives. People are dying. They're being evicted from their houses. They're losing everything.
It's unclear whether President Trump actually plans to veto the bill once it arrives on his desk. If he refuses to sign it, it would become law after 10 days. If he vetoes it, Congress could override it. Faith Abubey, ABC News, Washington.
And also today, President Trump is expected to take action on a sweeping defense bill passed last week. It is the deadline to sign or veto, which he has threatened to do because of certain provisions. The sticking points right now are efforts to rename military installations with Confederate names and protections for social media companies. If the president vetoes, Congress plans to override it.
But Congress did its job this week. And I can and I must ask them to do it again next year.
President-elect Joe Biden laid out some of the key relief items he wants to see Congress pass once he takes office. His wish list includes direct payments, funding for vaccine distribution, and aid for state and local governments, something nixed from the current bill. Biden will also consider an extension to the eviction and foreclosure moratoriums and extend unemployment benefits.
Since the first doses of coronavirus vaccines arrived in Colorado, more than 38,000 people have been vaccinated so far, and that includes veterans who served our country. The first shots were administered at the Veterans Community Living Center at Fitzsimmons in Aurora yesterday. They've lost 25 people due to COVID since the start of the pandemic, and as we expected, these veterans answered the call of duty.
Am I first? Well, I'm honored, but I don't care. I mean, anybody could do it. But if it's for the better good of our whole population here, I'm game.
I felt goosebumps when my husband was getting that vaccine. It's not like I wanted to cry. It's like I wanted to smile and tell the whole world, this is what you should do.
So some exciting moments, certainly for the families of the veterans there. Governor Polis said he hopes to complete the first dose of vaccinations at every nursing home in the state by mid-January and have them fully vaccinated by February.
As the U.S. takes on the largest mass vaccination effort in history, a new survey shows Americans are warming up to the idea of getting the shot. A new poll from Suffolk University shows 46% say they will take the vaccine as soon as possible. That's actually up from 26% in late October. 32% say they want to wait for others to get the shots first. Health officials are trying to track the new strain of coronavirus spreading across Europe to see if it's reached the U.S. The new strain isn't more severe, but researchers warn it spreads even easier than others. In New York, where dozens of international flights arrive daily, health officials have tested about 4,000 samples for the variant, and fortunately, none has come back positive.
Well, the windy conditions today could delay some coronavirus testing. Jefferson County Public Health says the testing site at the fairgrounds will open at 9 today and close at 3. And this is your last chance to get a free community test before they close across the state for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So if you need one before they reopen, be sure to contact your healthcare provider.
Time now is 6:11, holding pharmacies accountable for their role in the opioid crisis. Coming up, why the Justice Department says Walmart's prescription policies filled hundreds of thousands of suspicious orders.
And we know many parents hate remote learning, but the end of the pandemic may not mean a return to the classroom. The big drawbacks of the plan ahead.
Denver7 360 reporting, covering news in a way that just makes more sense.
We break down the big stories so you can make up your own mind on the issues.
With more in-depth coverage, multiple angles, and different perspectives.
Saving you time and putting all the facts in one place.
A fresh approach to news that doesn't take sides. And it all starts right here.